Adding movement in Godot 3D is something that we tend to want to add a lot of times when we are creating games, and in this video I'll show you how you're going to be able to quickly do it, as I've done in this amazing 3D game. So in order to do this, we're going to be using this template that is actually from Patrikios from one of his tutorials, okay? But with the extra that it's originally made to be used for a simple first-person character controller, okay? But I'll also show you how you can adapt it to a third-person controller, okay? If you want to, as I've shown in the introduction of this video. So firstly, go to the description down below, where you're going to be finding this URL. Press code, download zip. Inside of your Godot folder, right-click on the file system, create new folder, and here add a folder exactly named add-ons, like that. Now we're going to be having to drag and drop our files, okay, our zip file, like, extracted, okay. So first of all, let's go to project, okay, and let's go to quit to project list, okay. Then let's give it a second, and over here, click on this folder icon that is going to directly show it in the file manager. So it is exactly over here, where, for example, you can find your add-ons folder. Then here have the zip that we have just downloaded, so we can right click, WinRAR, extract here. Let's give it a second. And now that we have this, okay, let's grab this proto controller folder, okay. We can directly copy this folder over here with that button. We can go back to where our project is, exactly over here, go to the add-ons folder and press paste, okay. Let's give it a second. And now we can go back to Godot, okay, and open up again our project. Then you're going to be seeing this new folder over here, and if you open it up, you will see a scene and a new script. So you can actually double click it, okay, and you're going to be finding everything that you will need, okay. However, let's do some things, because probably you don't want your scene to be called proto controller, and you don't want your script to be called also proto controller, because they don't really make any sense. So what you can do is, once that you have your scene open, go to scene, save scene as, and go to the root, okay, of the project, exactly here. And for example, let's create a new scenes folder, and in this case, for the name, let's give it player. Okay, now we can open up this one. There we go. And we can also rename the root node to exactly that, player. We can save the changes, and now you can see we have two different scenes, okay. We want to do something very similar with a proto controller script. So let's right click on it, duplicate in this case, and let's call it just player. And let's also create a new folder in the resources. So let's right click here on the res folder, and let's call it scripts. And let's drag and drop this player script over here. Okay, so now everything is kind of detached. And also here in the player scene, we have to make sure that we have the correct script assigned, because you can see right now it is also referring to a proto controller script. We don't want that. We want to refer to a player script. So there we go. So now what happens is that we have two completely separate scripts and scenes. So you can also access the code here. I'm going to explain it like at least a little bit for you. But the important thing here is that now you have two complete separate files. So any change that I do over here on the player script, for example, it's not going to take effect on the proto controller script, basically on the original one. I like to do it like this because sometimes maybe we modify something in our own script and we want to take a look at how it used to be done before, for example, or we just want to have a quick reference to the original file, just so that we don't override it. So that's basically how we like to manage it. The same thing with the scene, okay? We can do any change to this player scene. Let's say that now we also want to add some particles to our player. Okay, we have the new scene that we are going to be using, and we have like the base scene of everything, the original one. Okay, so that's what I recommend you can do. But now if we try to play on this player, okay, this is what we're going to be seeing, basically nothing. So we have to set up a scene. So let's create a brand new 3D scene. I'm just gonna be calling it main. I will save it into my player scene. And what you will need to do is to go to the three dots over here, add sun, add environment, okay, so we have all that we need. And now we are going to press on the main node, click instantiate, and here we're going to instantiate the player. And now when we run this main scene, we do start to see at least something, basically the environment, all this, okay, but we can't see the player right now. So what I'm gonna do is to go to the main node, add a static body. Inside of it, I'm just gonna press Ctrl A, which is the shortcut to adding a child. I'm gonna be adding a collision shape. Well, not a collision shape right now. I'm gonna be adding just a mesh instance. And I'm gonna be adding a plane. Okay, I'm gonna do it way bigger. So let's say something like 200, 200, just so that we have some surface. And then from here, let's go to mesh, create collision shape. Let's create it as a sibling. Yes, that's correct. And let's create just simple convex because it should be the most optimized one, I believe. Basically that. There we go. And now we do have our collision shape. And now when we play, this is what we see. Okay, when we click on the scene, because if you don't click on the window, you can't move. But when you click, as you can see, my mouse cursor disappears, and now I can move around, and do basically wherever I want. Okay, so in reality, let's just do this plane a little bit smaller, because if not, I can't really see anything basically. So 50-50, maybe that would work. Okay, and now you can see how I can move around. It even gives the visual illusion that we are not moving, so I want to make it clear that we are indeed moving. So let's make it 15-15. I know the collision shape is bigger, but we don't care about that right now. There we go. Now you can indeed see. Now, a problem that you may face is that you cannot move with W, A, S, and D. Okay, you can move with the arrows and with the spacebar, but it's pretty like weird how this is set up by default, because well, you don't tend to do it like that, because it's complicated to move with this. Okay, so what you do is go to the player sim, select the player node, scroll up, okay, and here you find a lot of options. You have input actions. Okay, so this is what we have to modify. By default, it's moving with UI left, UI right, UI up, UI down, which are the keys, okay, sorry, the arrow keys. So we can go to project settings and create new actions. So let's give them a similar name. So left, right, up, down, and let's click here on the plus. And for the left, I will press A and press OK. So I'm gonna do the same for the other one. So with W, A, S, and D. And now we'll just have to replace this name. So left, right, up, down. And let's go back to the main scene. Let's run it. And now I can move with W, A, S, and D. Still, I am jumping with spacebar, and now it's way better. Now, something else that you may notice that maybe you don't like is the fact that you can't move the camera as soon as the game starts. You have to specifically click on the screen to be able to do that. So how will we get to modify it? And here's when we will start to modify the player script, not the proto controller one, just the player script. So this has actually a lot of code. It's not that complicated if you actually take the time to do it. But anyway, what you have to understand is that here there is a function that was a lock mouse or something like that. Let me check it. Here, capture mouse. And if you try to look for the references of it with Control F, basically I selected Control F. And what you'll see is that it is here under the handheld input. So if we have pressed the mouse button left, only then it's going to capture the mouse. And for me, this doesn't make any sense. So let's directly comment these lines. And let's directly call capture mouse on ready. Okay, after doing all this, just in case, capture mouse. So now, as soon as we start playing in the main scene, the mouse is captured and we can move around, okay? So this is the key of templates. You can get to understand the logic. The code is pretty well written, so you are able to understand pretty easily what this is doing. Let's actually maximize it. So for example, here we have a lot of options that we can get to modify. They are pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I have to explain a lot of things here. In unhandled input, what we are doing basically is handling stuff related to the mouse and to looking at different positions. Basically here, for example, this code block looks around basically when we are doing this. Or even you have a free fly mode, so here is all the logic for that. In physics process, we are handling the movement, okay, gravity, jumping, all that we need in order to move basically. So this is the piece of code that you have to modify if you want to modify something related to movement. And well, we already have talk a little bit about this function that allow us to rotate to where we're looking at. We have a function to enable or disable free fly if we wanted to, and the two functions that we have mentioned, capture mouse and release mouse, which is just the opposite. And we also have a check input mappings function that will basically allow us to check that everything is set up correctly. That basically, as you can see, sends some errors to the console that are telling us, okay, this is not working correctly, you have to check something. Now, as I mentioned, this is a first-person movement controller, but what happens if we actually want to see this orange guy over here? So in that case, we have to go to a player sim, and you will find that the camera, this pink square or rectangle, whatever this is in that position. That's why we can't see anything. So first of all, we can get to modify this head node. So we can move it back, for example, and when we go back to the main scene, you will kind of start to see a third-person movement controller. It is, of course, super bad in a lot of cases, okay, basically because the angle is not good, but once again, with this, you can get to modify a lot of things. If you select the camera, you get the preview over here on the right. So you can, for example, change the FOV, which is basically like the camera zoom. We can also maybe lower it down. Something very important is that you only modify the position of the head and not the camera, because if not, you will have a lot of problems. So maybe something like that. Yeah. Maybe a little bit more. For the rotation, I don't remember if it was done on the head or in the camera, but I believe yes, it was in the head. So let's do it maybe something like that, minus 20. There we go. Now let's move this head up a little bit, even more. There we go. Yeah, maybe something like that could work. Of course, there are a lot of adjustments, but well, you know, setting up a camera and positioning it and all that can take some time. But as you can see, we kind of start to have something that feels way better, okay, than before. This is one camera effect that you may want to have, okay, but if not, you can always go to the hierarchy and modify it as you want. So for example, if you actually reset this position and rotation of the head, and you actually put it on the head, I'm talking about the actual head position, and you just modify the camera, okay, so let's say something like that, you should be having a different effect over here on how it works. So as you can see, this angle is even better than what it used to be, at least for me. But once again, this is just a matter of testing a little bit what you like the most. If you want to watch more Godot content, I recommend you take my Godot courses, link in the description down below. And if you use that link in specific, you are going to be able to get huge discounts. I'm talking more than 70% off in all of them. So this is my latest Godot course. This is my previous Godot course that is still amazing. As you can see, it has more than 40 students, 8 ratings, an average of 4.8 stars, and even my full Unity course, if you use Unity, of more than 20 hours of content.